generally, there are two approaches to the planning. One, sectoral planning and regional planning. The sectoral planning means formulation of any important planning, a scheme or a program aimed at implementation of various sectors of economy such as agriculture, irrigation, manufacturing, power, construction, transport, communication, social infrastructure and services. In this chapter, we will be discussing about the sustainable development, planning in Telangana, urban policy of Telangana, sustainable development goals, achievement in sustainable development goals. The planning process has to take special care of those areas which have remained economically backward. The economic development of the region depends upon its resource base, but sometimes a resource-rich region also remains backward. The economic development also requires technology as well as investment besides the resource. With the planning experience of about 1.5 decades, it was realized that the regional imbalances in economic development were getting accentuated. In order to arrest the accentuation of regional and social disparities, the Planning Commission has introduced the target area and target group approaches to planning. Some of the examples of programs directed towards the development of the targeted area are Command Area Development Program, Drought Prone Area Development Program, Desert Development Program and Hill Area Development Program. The Small Farmers Development Agencies and the Marginal Farmer Development Agencies, which are the examples of target group programs. In the 8th 5-year plan, special area programs were designed to develop infrastructure in hill areas, northeastern states, tribal areas and backward areas. Sustainable development takes care of ecological, social and economic aspects of development during the present times and pleads for the conservation of resources to enable the future generation to use these resources. It takes into account the development of whole humankind which have a common future. Most Indian cities, including Hyderabad, has grown exponentially over the years, both in the terms of land area and population size. Unfortunately, while the promise of a vibrant Hyderabad is appealing, growth in the city is not born out of desire. At a low growth rate of 2% per annum, the city's population of approximately 10 million could double in 35 years and become unmanageable in terms of civic amenities and services required to sustain it. Urban planning is said to be the technical or political process that deals with the design, use and development of land and other resources in the city or town. According to 2018 Quality of Living ranking produced by Marcel, Hyderabad was found to be the most livable city in India. As a new metropolitan city, Hyderabad is faced with several challenges and yet its greatest forthcoming is its inability to proactive with regard to urban planning and governance. Yet, what Hyderabad lacks in vision, it makes up for the promise. In such a case, there is a critical need to look objectively at the patterns of growth and development and plan for a more sustainable, efficient and productive future. Most critical of all is that the urban planning in Hyderabad must be preceded by a developmental vision and all its resource sector must be managed not in isolation but in towards serving the needs of the people and environment. The sustainable rural or urban development of the state or country is only possible with the right development of infrastructure to utilize the resources and to develop e-governance best practices. The development of infrastructure and decentralized planning is one of the priorities for development of Indian economy towards the social development. The good governance is required to a great extent to contribute to socio-economic development through development of infrastructure in the areas of agriculture and socio and rural infrastructure. The development of ICT and the web-based technology towards good governance practices to improve the decentralized planning system to develop smart cities and industrial development will contribute to the welfare of the mankind. The overall development of the state of Telangana is in the right direction to bring the socio-economic development in the key areas of agriculture, industries and service sector. The state policy for accelerating sustainable development and improving the strategic intervention in the respect of e-governance, good governance, ICT education, infrastructural development to achieve the improvement in the employability and empowerment of youth and women. The government of Telangana is closely working with local district and state level authorities to improve the social and economic infrastructure and industrial development through best industrial and agricultural policies. The present government is facing various challenges such as best governance, fast land and environment and other policies available for a long-term funds, timely implementation of projects within estimated cost and at the same time protecting the interest of all the stakeholders. Development of Telangana state requires huge funds and technocrats with formal professional education for creating a comprehensive, multifaceted capabilities to improve good governance system, to improve the economic development and rural transformation process of Hyderabad capital into a world-class capital by developing good infrastructure related to roads, power, aviation, urban infrastructure, railways, agriculture and socio and rural infrastructure. Infrastructure was exclusively used to describe public asset that facilitate production but not private assets of the same purpose which play an important role in the development of an economy. Some of the detailed planning includes measures to ensure seamless traffic movement in Hyderabad, better road connectivity, improved underground drainage system, a drinking water grid to enable continuous supply of water and also a regional ring road beyond the outer ring road. For this purpose, nearly 50,000 crores will be spent on the urban development, with a special focus on turning Hyderabad into a global city in the next 3 years. Hyderabad alone contributes nearly half of the state gross domestic product. Among other initiatives planned are the operationalizing real estate regulatory authority, proposed airport metro express and comprehensive riverfront development of 𝗧𝗎𝗓𝗓𝗓. Plans to introduce an integrated township policy to decongest the city and promote the walk to work concept and feasibility studies to prepare a comprehensive master plan for all urban local bodies. Beginning, the Gram Panchayat that have acquired urban characteristics would become the urban local bodies, taking the number up to the present 74 to 146. Telangana government, with its major thrust on the urban development, is in the process of constituting 24 new urban development authorities to promote structured urban growth plan in the state. Telangana is having to come into existence recently in 2014 is on a fast track mode in urban development, achieving significant milestones in government administration year on year. Powered by a strong leadership and armed with focused policies, the state is on the move steadily with a determination for holistic development of the region. The state believes that urban development is a socio-cultural, economic and a physical development of the cities as well as the underlying causes of these processes. Cities and their development is a central topic in human geography, and the study of the cities makes up the subdiscipline of the city geography or urbanism. Physical development of the cities, especially infrastructure, real estate and affordable housing, is on the top agenda of the state. Information technology, urban development has been one of the major uses of areas. In Telangana, urban population constitutes 40% and ration from the rural areas to the cities, especially to the Hyderabad, is more. We are in the process of forming 24 new urban development authorities to ensure guaranteed urban growth, creating 21 new districts in the mean to ensure the smaller plans also develop and the youth get better employment opportunities. Besides, these urban bodies will transform the Telangana, reducing pressure on Hyderabad and Warangal cities. In addition to the 4 existing development authorities, Hyderabad Metropolitan Development Authority, Kakatiya Development Authority, Yadadri Urban Development Authority and Vemulwada Urban Development Authority, 24 new development bodies will cover all the 33 districts of the state to plan structured growth. The state has many projects in pipeline for urban development, and transforming Hyderabad as a global city is the top agenda for the state, with the Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation being the front end to make it happen. Telangana urban policy is a paradigm shift in urban planning with a citizen-friendly, futuristic vision. Rapid growth and urbanization is resulted in over half of the world's population either living in cities and towns or migrating there. It is projected that by 2050, nearly 70% of the people will be living in urban areas. This would lead to a significant economic growth, with the cities becoming the engines propelling it. The key reason why large cities tend to have productivity advantages is their capacity to catalyze agglomeration and networking externalities, facilitating economics of scale. But this pervasive phenomena increases the demand for urban infrastructure, making the task for planning, finance and governance inherently challenging. This leads to exorbitant land and housing prices, shortage of civic amenities, traffic congestions. The urban planning is a crucial tool to manage cities but is often a neglected subject in India. Unfortunately, the Indian planning system has forgotten that the urban and town planning are critical for a growing country like India. The Government of India carved out a National Urban Policy Framework in 2018. The policy outlines 10 philosophical principles focusing majorly in 10 functional areas of urban space and management. However, under the provisions of the 7th schedule of the Constitution, urban development and the urban policy is a state subject. Telangana has done very well in urban innovation. Telangana is the 5th most urbanized state in the country, with urbanization at 42% as against the national average of 31%. This is likely to become 50% in the next 5 years. Urban population witnessed the fastest increase in the decade of 2001 to 2011 as compared with the previous decades. Telangana state urban policy is essential for an integrated approach towards the future urban planning. The state has 141 urban local bodies with 1.45 crore population. Telangana, the youngest state in the Union of India, envisages comprehensive, inclusive and holistic development of its people in the course of achieving the state's vision Bangaru Telangana. Telangana believes that the economic growth is one of the key underpinnings of the societal developments and provides the means to sustainable improvement the lives of millions of people through programs targeting social welfare and inclusive growth. The government of Telangana has taken up initiatives such as accelerating economic growth, improving infrastructure facilities, and programs targeting the social welfare and inclusive growth. Most of these initiatives will pave the way for achieving the sustainable development goals in Telangana, the youngest among the 29 states in the Union of India, formed in June 2014. 33 districts covering 2 major river basins, Godavari and Krishna, abundant natural resources and talent pool. The vision of the government is to build a golden Telangana or Bangaru Telangana in order to bring administration closer to the public and to ensure that the benefits of development and the welfare schemes reach the poorest person in the state more effectively, efficiently, and existing 10 districts are reorganized into 31. States have reorganized its districts from 10 to 31 and from 2016 and 33 in 2018 with an objective to make an easy access to the administration available to the people. State is an arid and a dry and is primarily dependent on rainfall for agriculture. Telangana is predominantly an agrarian society with 61% of the people living in rural areas. The total area of 1.12 lakh square kilometers. Average size of the land holdings is 1.12 hectares. Telangana is growing fast with an annual average growth rate of 17.2%. This pace of growth has been made possible due to the progressive policies and schemes adopted by the government. It entails sustainable efforts for improving infrastructure facilities in both rural and urban parts of the state and providing the facilities that create the overall holistic development of communities from all sections of the society. Human resource development through universal education and skill development, provisions of accessible, affordable healthcare services and gainful employment and livelihood opportunities for all the people in an environment where the rule of law and the social justice prevails is also an important part of Telangana's vision or 2030 in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. Telangana, fastest growing state. The Telangana is a growing fast annual average growth rate of 17.2%. Overall GSDP for 2017 and 18 is 14.1. The growth of primary, secondary and the tertiary sectors are 9.7, 9.1 and 15.6 respectively. This pace of growth has been made possible due to the progressive policies and the schemes adopted by the government. The state has improved its performance over 2018 in 8 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Telangana has emerged as the best performing state in promoting inclusive and sustainable economic growth. The state has improved its performance over 2018 in 8 out of 17 SDGs in decent work and economic growth. India's youngest state moved to 82% from 75% in the previous years. In industry, innovation and infrastructure, it has jumped to 61% from just 16% in the previous years. The SDGs of sustainable cities and communities, it improved from 44% to 62%. Telangana also made a huge jump in the clean water and sanitation, moving up from 55% to 84%. In affordable and clean energy, it recorded 93% performance against the 63% earlier. However, the state has also slumped in some key SDGs. For instance, in gender equality, its performance in 2019 was 26% against the 43% a year ago. Towards addressing the gaps on the Sustainable Development Goals reporting, the state of Telangana has taken an initiative towards mapping the Sustainable Development Growth Indicators with the existing government departments and schemes need to come together to report on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. With this mapping exercise, there is more clarity on the reporting towards the Sustainable Development Goals and how they can be operationalized at the state level. Since the scope of Sustainable Development Goals is wide, at present the government schemes cannot accommodate all of the indicators developed by the UN, but this is a starting point towards taking the sustainable development seriously. The Sustainable Development Goals need to be taken up seriously. The vision of Bangaru Telangana matches the framework of the Sustainable Development Goals. Education, health and agriculture are 3 areas to focus upon. The unsustainable growth hurts the poor, and in order to have sustainable growth, we need to update ourselves and change our methods to eradicate poverty. The Sustainable Development Goals need to be translated into a development agenda, thereby into action.